let me invite Srinivas Gollakota with a big round of applause.
I see a full room, and following up on the fantastic start act from Manoj is a blessing, because I feel the bulk of my presentation has already been covered from the industry side. Coming from the supply side of it, I think going through and understanding from Manoj from the organization's perspective was really helpful. But what it also led to is a reflection on all the things that I'm about to present, and validates my presentation, talking about what industry really is looking at. To introduce myself, like has already been done, I work very closely with large organizations, specifically on the IT side, but also lead strategy for India for penetration into government, education, and other stuff. So it's a very interesting time. In the last 5 years, if you really reflect upon what has happened, what has changed, the way people work has shifted drastically. You had people going to office and they suddenly stopped in 2020 February. You had to reimagine the way that you had to look at how these people were engaged. I remember as an individual contributor looking at 12 to 16 hour work days at the start of the pandemic, doing presentations to everybody from an apparel manufacturer to the largest of tech skills, because everybody was interested in L&D at that point of time. The reason being, मुझे और कुछ करना नहीं है तो लोगों को training ही करवाते हैं. That was the thought process at that point of time, because it was engagement. And look at how things have shifted in the last 5 years and how the impact has been felt. So today, why am I here? I'm here to talk about what kind of shifts have happened, what changes we are seeing from the perspective of skilling, the trends that we are seeing in skilling, and the impact of all that. How do organizations really need to be geared up to address the multifaceted change that the industry is throwing at you? Why does Udemy become a partner that is able to throw these insights? With more than 75,000 instructors contributing to a library of 260,000 courses, and our ability to service 17,000 enterprise customers today, there is a huge amount of data that gets generated on the platform, and we are taking insights from this. The insights that we are looking at are also clearly aligning to a few significant trends that we can talk about. In November 2024, we did, based on, and this is an annual thing for us, every year we go around looking at the data for trends, looking at what happens with the kind of utilization, what is the kind of adoption that is happening, what are the shifts in technology trends that we are looking at. And that threw up 3 very important priorities for us. And what are those priorities? First is that in today's rapidly changing environment, where technology, the economy, the ability to work from home merged with the need for coming to office, all these have changed significantly. There's a state of constant flux. And amidst all this, organizations must actually rise to the challenge of delivering better and better work every day. How do you get ready for this kind of a change? How do companies and their leaders predict the kind of change that happens? What are the trends and priorities that organizations today need to look at? And how do they gear themselves for the next shift? Today, technology half-life cycles have probably shrunk less than 50% of what they originally used to be. At the start of my career, we used to talk about 6-year, 4-year technology half-life cycles. Today, that's shrunk to less than 1.5 years. So with such a changing landscape, and if you look at the other changes, people were used to working from office every day. Today, it is a hybrid workforce. People do not as much like to come to office unless they're pressurized. A lot of organizations are grappling with bringing back workforce to the office. These are all significant changes. How do you grapple with the needs like networks that are dedicated to certain customers? How do you grapple with time zone changes? How do you build that camaraderie between employees to work together as a team? These are all challenges that were probably not seen around 5 years back. So if you were to look at the 3 priorities that today organizations are looking at, how do you understand the changing, I would say, ever-changing technology landscape or landscape of skills that are required to deliver to the organizational goals? Gen AI has become a disruptor. Suddenly you see a lot of jobs being repurposed, a lot of skills coming into the play that probably were never envisaged in the past. And then the third priority is how does leadership grapple with all this and still maintain a steady state and prepare for the new challenges that come tomorrow. Let's break this down in multiple ways. Let's look at priority one, which is focusing on skill development and skills validation. If we looked at what was happening on the platform and we did a check, we came upon a study where Deloitte talked about 75% of business leaders see skills gaps as the major source of risk. Why is that? Because today there are needs that are coming in that probably you were not ready for. There are technologies that are coming in that probably you did not envisage 2 years back. How do you rapidly keep pace with this change? And how do you make sure that your employees are empowered with the skills that are needed to deliver to this constant flux, constant change? So I'll just go back. What exactly is a skill gap? Skill gap is basically where you require an individual to be or a team to be from the perspective of the desired skills versus where they are right now. How do you keep pace with the rapid change and deliver to that skill gap? There are multiple factors that are creating this change. I talked about technology. I talked about the changed workplace dynamic today. There is also the third thing, which is economy of various regions to be considered. Budget cuts, manpower cuts. How do you take care of this? And when you compound that with the fact that whatever you are preparing for, 25% of that is not going to be there in 2028. That is the third dimension that is coming in because of the rapid change. This probably that you're seeing today is not going to be a skill that might be required in 2028. So technology definitely is driving multiple disruptive changes. How do you navigate this change? You need to develop skills, but more importantly, you need to validate those skills. What is skill validation? Today, what are skills in the first place? Skills are observable behaviors. These are something that you can acquire over a period of time. And what you do to master those skills and understand how those skills can be applied is what leads to successful delivery. But between these two stages, there is one important parameter. How do I know, or how does the organization know what the validation is? How do you validate? How do you develop the skills in the context of the work? Basically, look at what kinds of trainings you're going to deliver, what kinds of medium there are. Again, the lines are blurred. Previously, you had classroom training. Now, you have got a combination of synchronous and asynchronous training. You have got multiple assets to learn from. There is a marketplace of learning that is available to a lot of people. But at the end of all that, there is also the need to validate that training. And now, if you look at typically where the validation comes from, you're talking about the ability for a person to learn and certify at the end of it. Today's world, ideally, certification is a medium of validation of skills. And on the Udemy platform, we have seen 11 million plus IT certification prep enrollments just in the last 12 months. Out of all those, you're talking about more than 2 million enrollments into AWS services. Clearly, the cloud has taken over as one of the big change, leaders of change as far as technology skills and validation is concerned. One is getting to learn. There are platforms like us that help, getting there. But also, it is important for learners to validate their skills and present to organizations their ability to have learned on those platforms. I can quote an example of why skills have become such an important piece in today's world. In the past, job roles used to define what recruitment needs to happen in an organization. Today, there has been a massive shift. Organizations today are talking about how individuals can move to the next role, not based on the experience that they have, but on the skills that they can showcase. And how are they doing it? There are multiple organizations that I've worked with that have done away with the need for people to be in a certain role for a period of time. They are saying, as long as you have the skills and you are able to demonstrate those skills, we are happy to move you, provided you are able to showcase the proficiency. And how do you showcase proficiency? It could be by certifications, it could be by on-the-job demonstration of the ability to work and stuff like that. Now, to actually talk about the progress in skills acquisition, organizations needs various assessment capabilities. You have to measure the mastery of each skill, and then badging and certification, the ability to provide skill-based opportunities to organizations. These are all part of the ecosystem. Various organizations have different ways of doing it. But if you talk about the ways that you can reach there, today, the topmost priority is to have skills and the ability to validate those skills that will take you to the next level. Just to talk about skills-based organizations are those that place a priority over skill more than a job role. And quoting a few statistics, 107% of organizations in the skills-based organization are more likely to place talent that have acquired these skills efficiently. And the same skills will again come into perspective when you're retaining your top talent. You're looking at 57% more, the ability of organizations to have 57% more employees anticipate change and be ready for it. So a few other statistics are 84% of organizations have started considering how to implement skills based on the processes in the coming year. And at least 75% of these organizations have, based on the best practices that are identified for skills-based organizations, looked at at least one SBO practice. Priority number 2 is to get ready and face the wave that Gen AI has thrown. 2 years back, when there was a rapid shift in the way things were being looked at with the introduction of various AI tools, one clear leader came in as ChatGPT, and that disrupted the world. Today, you have DeepSeek, and Manoj did mention that DeepSeek is one of the priorities that has changed in the recent times. A month ago, when the first news item came about DeepSeek, we were doing a general check, and we said, I think this is time to look at DeepSeek as a technology on the Udemy platform. And guess what? In 5 days, we had around 18 courses. That is the power of the marketplace, the ability to bring in content. Today, you have hundreds of references to DeepSeek in courses of Udemy with reference to DeepSeek in at least a few lectures of the course. There are 18 to 20 dedicated courses on Udemy that talk about DeepSeek and the impact that it has. So let's dig deeper into this priority. Gen AI usage and applications are rapidly evolving. They are increasing. Part of this is also something that we see in the kind of adoption. 859% is the surge that we saw in Udemy Business in adoption and learning of Gen AI courses, and this is just in a 12-month period. Also, McKinsey reports that twice as many organizations are using Gen AI as compared to 10 months previously. If you club these two together, the applications that each organization is addressing today, including Udemy, where we are using Gen AI in areas that have a massive impact. Today, for instance, you can create a customized learning path by individual to serve your talent needs. And the power of being able to generate those learning paths is kept right at the center of where it needs to be, which is with the learner. You don't need training managers to assess what the needs are and align paths. Today, you have got the ability to create it yourself. If you need validation, you could also go to an expert, and they could help you curate that in ways that becomes intelligent to you. So with that, what we are talking about is the need to have a focused approach to building these GenAI skills across the organization. And it is not necessary that only the technologists need to be aware of it. It is as much important for various departments to get equipped with this kind of knowledge, because the use cases that are coming up are multiple and varied in nature. What are you envisaging when you're talking about, GenAI-based skills? Are you thinking core technology? What we have seen in the last 12 months, based on the data that we have seen on the Udemy platform, is that anything from analytical thinking, creative thinking, resilience, flexibility, agility, all these are at the core of what learning is happening, and all that is being powered by GenAI capabilities. So that brings us to what should you do as an organization to get ready to embrace the change that GenAI is throwing at you. One, you can have tailored interactive learning paths that are created that align to the goal that each individual is looking at to create skills for themselves. And two, with those individual learning paths, create specific skills that align to the organizational priorities that will take you to where you desire to be from a skilling perspective, and therefore be ready to take on the next job change that you would want to. From individual learning goals aligning to organizational goals is what this entire journey will take you through. Coming to the most important priority, you're talking about leadership that has been thrown into the deep water at this point of time with with multiple things that they need to grapple with. How do they manage a different generation of workers, a different kind of worker base that probably do not want to see each other in office as frequently as they used to do before the pandemic? Or how do you have empathetic leadership that will help take you through multiple disruptions like economic disruption, social disruption, HR disruptions? There are multiple things that you grapple with. I think developing a strong leadership funnel that takes care of transformation, building the ability to navigate, the shifting economic and technological shifts that the world is seeing, and all the while also delivering to organizational goals is what is absolutely important. And towards that, if you are looking at the 4 goals or business challenges that HBR threw, they said contending with ongoing disruption is topmost on the C-suite. Building tech savviness of all leaders is absolutely important. Humanizing leadership and having empathetic leadership to take the organization through the next few years of turmoil, and then leading the hybrid work strategy. These are all learning goals that are set up for every leader today. And it is important that leaders align to this, grow with this, and take this through the next phase. So what would these leaders need from their own learning perspective? Foundational knowledge, conversational knowledge of GenAI, the ability to also understand the human side of your human capital, make sure that goals are delivered to, all the while maintaining a fine balance between not giving in to all the challenges that are thrown in the form of the disruptions, the economic changes, the technological advancements, all that, but at the same time also growing business. So, final thoughts. What would be the roadmap for delivering business performance? Skills development at scale, skills validation. Of course, there is the personal angle that needs to be taken care of, so you need to take care of personal aspirations of employees while blending it towards the organizational goals of what you are looking at. Developing GenAI skills across the board. It is not only tech skills that are required to embrace GenAI. Finance, HR, there are disruptions in every possible field, L&D. I think everybody needs to be ready with what you need to be looking at for the next phase. And finally, leadership skills for technological innovation and a human-centric leadership. Thank you so much. I'm around if anybody would want to have a conversation. I'm either in this room or Udemy has a booth right next door. So happy to continue the conversations. Thank you so much.